Hey folks, and welcome back to Shaggy's Car Shop. On tonight's episode, I started cleaning up my garage. As I was moving stuff around, I had to move my engine, and I figured it'd be a good time to stop and talk to y'all about what I'm planning on doing for an engine in my Firebird. It's not normal, it's actually way abnormal. But without any further ado, let's get to it. Alright folks, so here's my engine that I am going to, I guess shoehorn would be a proper thing to say because it's rather large, but put into my Firebird. Now if you notice, distributors on the front, not in the back where they normally are. So this engine started life as a 472 Cadillac. Came out of a 68 Coupe de Ville that I once had. Was going to fix it up, but the car had way too much cancer in it, and I don't know if you've ever seen a 68 Cadillac. They're a very, very big car. It was bad enough for me to try and figure out how to replace panels on my Bird. So, with that being said, it started life as a 472 Cadillac. Now you might ask, why would I want to shove a big block Cadillac engine into a Firebird? My answer to that, why not? Looking around online here in later years, I've seen a couple videos where people have done caddy swaps. I think there was one on a Bird, one on a Camaro, a few on Cutlasses, a few on square body pickups, but not very many people have decided to do it. I think I found out why. These things, if you build them up just stock, they're not too bad. If you decide to try and get some horsepower out of them, it's going to hit you in the wallet pretty good. I'm not going to say how much I spent on this one, but it was quite a bit. I did build it back in 2014. It's now August of 2022, so it's been sitting a while. I built it when I got back into the States. I acquired parts over 3 or 4 years while I was messing around overseas, and then when I got back, I decided to build it up. Now, with that, it is a stock 472 block cast excuse me, cast iron heads and the cast crank. Instead of going with the original Cadillac intake manifold, I went with the Edelbrock. It's a dual plane and it made pretty good power, and it saves a lot of weight. Those original Caddy intake manifolds were, I think, 70 or 80 pounds. This one's like 30, so that saved me a lot of weight. My pistons, I want to say those were Keith Black pistons, and then I had some forged I-beam connecting rods that were rated up to like 700 power or 700 horsepower. Don't ask me where I got these parts. I'm racking my memory just trying to go off of this. But I do know my connecting rods, just for a little FYI, the connecting rod bearings are the same diameter as a small block Chevy's main bearing. So that just shows you the size of the internals in this engine. Now, with these cast heads, I got new hardened valve seats put into there, stainless steel valves. I have a roller camshaft in it. Don't ask me what size it is because I was digging through old paperwork trying to figure it out so I could tell you guys, but it's went the way of the dodo. But roller camshaft, roller rockers, let's see, of course I got an HEI on the front. Yeah, they don't really make a double roller timing chain, but it is a single roller, best I could find when I made it. Melling oil pump, high performance. Got to keep oil pressure to these. Now these are not high revving engines. When we dynoed it, I want to say I told them the max I'd want to go is about $5 grand, 5100, something like that, which actually works perfect because the hood tack on my car red lines at 5100, so that works pretty good. Let's see, some other things about it. Oh, so when I took it to a machine shop and had them bore it 60 over, I had them port and polish my cylinder heads and get the flow going good. Now, these engines stock were all internally balanced engines. If you're going the way I did, I do have a balancer, a small one on the front, and they balanced everything, so I'm doing a manual conversion. So I brought the flywheel for them, and they balanced everything, so it's all basically a blueprinted engine. Everything's all balanced. Yeah, other than that, exhaust is going to be a little bit interesting in the Firebird. I had some shorty headers for it that we actually ran it on the dyno with. When I had this in the car and we're trying to test fit it, that's not going to work. So I think is what I'm going to do is they make flanges for these, and it's close to a big block Chevy for the spacing. So I might just buy the flanges, get a set of big block Chevy headers that were made for a Camaro, and weld them on. You know, I'll have to play with it a little bit, which will be kind of precarious with a painted car, but in retrospect, I didn't want to wait. Oh, some other things I did. It's all ARP head studs in here, ARP main studs or main bolts. Most all of my hardware on here is stainless steel, so hopefully it doesn't rust on me. It's all grade 8. Figuring if I'm gonna build it, I'm gonna build it good, so I don't ever have to worry about if I gotta take something apart, breaking a bolt, anything like that. Yeah, that's about it. I guess I should kind of go into what it dynoed at. So naturally aspirated, running with a carburetor on it. I think I had an 850 no-name carburetor that we threw on it. But it dynoed at 518 horsepower and 625 foot-pounds of torque. So that's a lot. That's more torque than my Duramax that I pulled the Firebird to the shop with. So it should move that F-body pretty good, I would hope. Again, they're not very high revving cars, but they do make a lot of power. A lot of folks will just LS swap a F-body, whether it's a Camaro or a Firebird. LS swap them. LSs are great. I love them. But again, I wanted to be different, and I had this engine laying around, so I figured why not. Again, if you're wanting to build one for performance, hit me up in the comment section, and I'll let you know what websites I used. I know one kind of went away. There's a couple others. There's not too many places that make performance Cadillac engine parts. Some of the other things I got to do with this engine, other than obviously clean it up some, it was in my buddy's shop for most of those years. Other than when I moved down here 3 years ago, we've had everything sealed up good. Before I put it in the car, I'm going to have to obviously pull the distributor. Hopefully make a couple of timing marks up here, and once I pull that, use a oil primer and fill up the system and get good oil pressure in this. Again, it had good when it ran. I want to say like 60 psi, but I want to prime everything because it's been sitting so long. Now it is periodically turned over slowly, but I still want to prime it with everything. Let's see, some other things. As you notice, I don't have the old V-belts on the front. That's going to be a video for a later day. So for these, a serpentine system, they want like $2 grand for. I've dumped a lot of money into this car. I really don't want to spend $2 grand on a serpentine system. And I was looking at it, and I think I can build my own, or I hope I can. Now the one oddball thing is water pump on these engines and crank turn the same way. So you gotta have idler pulleys in between to run your belt so it runs the same way. But that's for a further video. So I won't get into where I got these pulleys, but they do line up beautifully because these are the only two I can't move. But I'll go into that, and let's just give you a little hint. I gotta take my grinder and get rid of a little blue oval down there, or a little oval. I guess it's not blue, it's just stamped. Yeah, other than that, a couple of other things on this engine I just reminded myself of. So originally these engines were front oil sump. I converted it to a rear oil sump, which isn't really that bad. You have to move where your oil pickup is, and they make little kits for that. And this is a 6 or 7 quart oil pan, rear sump. If you're lucky enough to go find one of these in a junkyard and you find one out of an old Eldorado, they had rear oil pumps, but those were 500s. Should fit on a 472. This one, all aluminum. It's pretty stout, but you know, that took a little bit. And I'll give you guys a walk around of the engine so you guys can kind of see what I'm working with, and I'll explain that oil, or rear sump oil pan, here in a second. All right, here's a little walk around of my engine. Here's that rear sump oil pan. This is on the passenger side. Your oil pump over here. Moving around to the back. One thing, if you're gonna manual swap these, I really can't get the camera in there. You can see the back of your crank. You have to have your machine shop drill it out for your pilot bearing. I already have a pilot bearing installed, but so if you're going with a swapping over from a front sump or mid sump to a rear sump, the thing you have to do when you get your block all apart, obviously you got your dipstick tube, but there's this little ball bearing right there. So you go from the inside of the engine, pop it out. It was actually in this hole here, and you move it, because they made the blocks interchangeable, and all they do is shove the dipstick into a different spot and call it a day. And then it runs now down into this part of the oil pan instead of this one where it kind of curve and go back. A little block off plate for my fuel pump because I'm going to run an electric. Other than that, I got some stuff to play with, you know, wires, things I need to do, but all in all, that's what I'm working with. And you can see on this intake manifold, it does sit up a little bit higher than the stock. The stock ones were real low in this pan. Then you had your crossover for heating it up, things like that. Alright folks, that's it for tonight's video. I hope you like my presentation on what I'm doing with my engine. Feel free to comment, leave a post. If you got any questions, I'll try and answer them to the best of my ability. Again, it's been, I think I built this in 2014, it's 2022, so that's 8 years. So my memory kind of eludes me on that, but I'll try and answer them as best as I can with what I got, where I got parts, minus the camshaft. Again, a lot of people have asked me why a Cadillac motor. I figured, why not? My car was just a 350 car. They made thousands and thousands of them. It wasn't anything special. So I decided to spice it up a little bit. But that being said, I wanted to give a shout out to another Firebird guy, another Firebird channel. He recently sent me some stickers. Got to save them birds, so thank you, John, up at Vinyl Village Garage. He's been working on Firebirds, from what I understand, for the better part of 20 years. He's got a lot of knowledge with him, works on them, plays with them. So if you like my channel or need some more information on working on old Firebirds, please give him a view or two, maybe subscribe. Other than that, folks, I'll catch you on the next one. Thank you.